the storm. Riders on the storm. Into this house we're
Hello
born.
and welcome to the Ron Ross Radio Show podcast. I'm Ron Sergeant Pepper Ross, and then he is John Cantori Yaglinski. And we will get into that why in just a second. But also, we want to remind you to please share the Ron Ross Radio Show podcast with your family and your friends. Collect them, trade them, and let them know where they can listen to it on YouTube. You can also hear on Facebook, and then also wherever you get your podcasts. But if you're on YouTube, like us, and we appreciate that, and let them know that you're listening, and that way we can get more listeners and do more things with you guys. And this is the episode 15. We've done 15 of these bad boys. Last one of the summer too. Last one, yeah,
that's true. That is true.
Last one of the summer. And then we have Labor Day weekend that's coming up this weekend. I'm going to be off from work Thursday, Friday. Oh, and our the podcast next week, a programming note, will be on Wednesday.
I'm just laughing. You said a programming note. That's
What?
Inside baseball right there.
Programming really?
Note.
No, jot this down. You can listen to this. Let's put it that way. Morning, Jennifer. Jim is present as well. You can comment, by the way, as if you're watching and listening to this live on Facebook. Comment, put it in the comment section. Yes. And we shall respond. Actually, I have a couple of interactive questions that are coming up, so be at the ready as we move into this. But thank you so much for hanging out with us. I really appreciate it. And John and I have so much fun putting this all together. So much to get to, but first things first. John lives in Hilton Head, South Carolina, and that means that Hurricane Idalia, he is not in the cone. He's in the center of the cone.
Right.
Makes landfall tomorrow. And
correct.
So how many days? What's the estimation until it comes to your area?
We're looking at Wednesday overnight into Thursday morning. It was originally
now that's like the eye, but you're still going to feel like the arms and rain and torrential downpours and wind and all of that stuff.
As they say, depending on whether it windshield wipers left or right, will affect us. Because if you're on the right side of the storm, you feel it more. If you're on the left side of the storm, you feel it less. And it also affects ocean currents, whether they're coming in or going out, depending on where you are and the spin of things, without getting too much into it. But
yeah. So what have you done to prep for it, Johnny? And by the way, and if you're keeping count, when did you move there? When did you move to
5/6 years ago?
How many of these bad boys have you been through?
Literally almost every single year we've had something that has come by here.
And my point is, when you were living in Maryland, how many hurricanes did you have? Exactly. Thank you. That's my
years.
No.
Yeah.
0.
Maybe. No, there were some that we tropical storms. I mean, we definitely felt the effect.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know you are.
I was very upset when John moved away. I was really upset. I was, I'm like, my friends are leaving. You have other friends that have a house in Florida, but they still live, they visit here. But anyway.
Yeah.
So what have you done? What have you done to prep for it? You have the hurricane shutters and you have hurricane grade windows and doors and stuff like that, right?
So we're not going to put up the shutter thingies. They're actually metal slats, and that involves getting up on a ladder and stuff. And if it were going to be a more powerful storm, I might think about doing that. But I think for this one, we're going to let it be. But we have tested the generator. I got a new generator last year. I've got a 9,700 starting watt, 70 some odd hundred continuous watt generator.
Now, what does it run? What will it run in your house? Okay.
But that easily runs a level of our house. So it would keep us cool or keep the refrigerators going. So that sort of stuff. It tested that, went out, got our gas to run that. Also made sure the propane tanks were full because it runs off of that as well.
Was there a line with people prepping?
No.
Okay.
No, but then again, I did this like
we've been through this before. Yeah.
No, I did this 2 days ago. So now I'll bet if I were to go out today, everybody will be filling up their cars. But I am no rookie at this. I mean, I take it seriously.
You should go and record live here on your cell phone and file a report. You definitely should file a report as things are happening just to make sure.
I will do that.
But I always text, like my brother who lives in California, Joe, and his whole family, and they both sons had two, and I can't believe I forgot to mention this last week.
Yeah, 2
sons had 2 babies within 2 weeks of each other. Lucas and Zachary had a son apiece, a son each, and with their wives and girlfriends, and then they obviously they're the ones who did all the work, and I never mentioned it last week, but I'm a horrible great uncle.
Well,
I'm a not so great uncle. But anyway, I had to text him because I'm like, is that hurricane, the West Coast hurricane, is that heading toward you? And he goes, yep, sure is. And I'm like, what are you gonna do? Now, this is a guy who used to live in Guam. He lived in the Philippines. He's been through a bunch of that. So he was in the Air Force, and he was in the Air Force. He's retired, and he said, it's mountainous. It's going to break up. The mountain's going to break it up, and we'll just get some wind and rain. And that's pretty much what happened. So if you listen to Joe, the meteorologist, he says it's going to be a nothing burger.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this.
And I wrote that down. I'm like, nothing burger. I love
it.
I'm keeping that. That's mine.
Idalia means business, though, I think. Much like, what was it? Ian last
Category
year?
3 now?
It is not yet, but it is anticipated to be possibly a 3, maybe a 4 coming on land. It's strengthening. It's going to be a major hurricane, and it will affect most of the coast of Florida, the left coast and the Gulf, but also because of how big it is and the spinach and the storms, pretty much going to affect almost the whole state, and is anticipated to still be a hurricane by the time it hits Florida-Georgia line. And not the rock group, but
thank you. Yeah, what's gonna? There was a preemptive strike, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Before I can make the joke, he did that on purpose. He did that on purpose.
Lobbed it out there. I
take
that joke
the teeth. Right, he did. He lobbed it and he pulled it right back. Oh my god! I couldn't get to it fast enough. All right. Well, best of luck, John. And seriously, just keep us informed, and I'll make a nuisance of myself texting you and just make sure that you.
That's cool. I love it.
The kids are okay.
I mean, I do love it when people check in.
Okay, good.
Sometimes you can't get back to.
You're gonna regret saying that,
but try not to drop off a cliff.
Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, the texting cliff.
That's a callback, by the way.
Call back to last week.
Last episode.
That's a little comedy rule, by the way.
Yeah. Callbacks.
The masters do that all the time. The comedy callback.
Yes.
So
indeed,
I was laboring under the false impression over the last year that this was going to be my 40th anniversary in radio. And then on this exact podcast, I showed my my FCC license to operate a transmitter. And there was the date, 1984. So this is my 39th year. I'll be going into my 40th year. But it was this week. It was this week that I first started in radio. And my dad told me to cold call a bunch of well, yeah, the Weather Channel.
I know. I'm working on it. It's stopped. It stopped.
My dad told me to cold call. I didn't know what the term cold call was. He just said call around, and because I was radio, television, and film major at the University of Maryland and College Park, and he said to call these places and offer to sweep the floors, and that's literally what I did, was to sweep the floors. But anyway, long story short, WXCS and WARK called me back, program director, and I started doing Orioles games. running a West Coast Orioles game, California Angels. I could probably give you the exact date if I looked up the schedule from 1984.
A's.
The A's, go A's. And then I had to apply for my FCC license.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started queuing up records. We had, vinyl LPs, 12-inch LPs, that whole, but like what you see behind me, that wall like that was full floor to ceiling with albums. And it was a rock station where we played, where I started on the what did I do? Weekend overnights. And Buddy Reiser, who was the overnight guy, taught me how to cue up a record, where you put it on the turntable and you put the tone arm on the record, and you put it in cue. So over on the board, you put it in cue, which is a tiny little speaker, and so you can hear what's going on the turntable without it going out on the air.
Right.
And turn the turntable until the song starts, and you stop it, and then this is where I first saw that I was like, this is ingenious. Who thought of this? The turntable was filled with was covered in felt. And then there was an indentation that was the size of a 45 record, right? With the adapter, the indentation. So you didn't have to keep putting an adapter on and off. If you had a 45, it just sunk down into the indentation.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So you had the spindle, you put the record on, you hear the, and then you turned it back from 12 o'clock. You put I put my finger at the top, 20 of. These turntables weren't that fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get it up to speed. So you cued it back, literally turn the record back with your finger until about 20 of. And that gave you enough time for the turntable to come up to speed. And then, or if it didn't, then you had what was called a wow-in. Wow.
That was a bad cue right there.
And that's right. Exactly. And then I was taught how to slip cue a record. Did you ever slip cue, John? That's a little inside baseball.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a lot inside baseball.
I don't remember that. What are we talking about?
So you had songs that had either a fade, a cold fade, or a cold ending. It just stopped, right?
Well, what about the fake ending?
For instance, well, you had to wait.
Like Magic Man by Heart.
Magic Man has a fake ending?
Do.
Yeah. Oh.
Like if you're not paying attention and you have that going on in the background, all of a sudden it starts the next record. Oh no, the song's not over.
No, the thing with Heart was Barracuda. The dun at the end goes 5 times, not 4. And that's a great record that you would come out and you would slip cue. So what you have, you're coming out of Heart, right? You're coming out of the song Barracuda, and it's and so you had the next song so on your other turntable, and you queued it up so that it was the tone arm was right at the start of the song. And then you turned it on the board. You put your finger on the edge of the record and you held it there. And you turned it on. Okay. You turned the turntable on and turned it up on the control board.
Yeah.
So it's, and you would go into who is it? New Girl Now, Hollywood Suite, right? Honeymoon Suite.
Honeymoon Suite. Yeah.
Which had a this is the 80s. People relax. and you're coming out of, and it was a rock station. But you're coming out of Barracuda, then you let go, and then you let go of that, and the next song comes in. Yes, you had that. Bam!
Instantaneous. Yeah.
I remember once I was working at DC 101, and I forget what the songs were. I was coming out of one and going into another, like a Pink Floyd or something, and they were in the same key, right? So one faded out and one faded in.
You're doing.
Yeah. Right, one faded out, one faded in, and even the guy who taught me at 107X, Buddy Reiser, was working there, and he walks in and he goes, "That was a great segue." And it's like 5:30 in the morning. That was a great segue. Too bad nobody heard
it. Yeah, right, exactly.
And I'm like, because you got a good segue, and you're like, yeah, slam the
radio
fader
guys
down.
would get all excited about that when we made a really good segue, even though nobody out there probably cared.
And I worked at rock stations for a good long while in the beginning of my career, so I never really got to talk up the intro of a record. So when I first started doing, when I first started doing, well, we didn't really do it so much with Magic 106.9 with hot adult contemporary format, but when we started doing oldies.
Yeah.
And I was, talking over the intro of, Baby Love. Yeah. And, just getting down to the sounds of Motown. Oldies 106.9, and screaming jock and hitting that post.
I know. It's fun, right?
Yeah. Well, we think it's fun. I don't know what listeners think about it.
I know. 97.5 WKMZ.
Right.
It's 11:16, 16 past 11. It's a tailor-made Tuesday. Good morning to you.
So I had a
Don't forget your sweater.
The guy I worked with, when you just did what's called double time, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't catch it the first time, is what they're saying. And this is before digital clocks in your car and it's all on your phone and all that crap. So you can do time checks, partly cloudy, 6:18, 18 after 6. That was, you had to do that.
Why?
And
I don't know. I
was challenged by Mark K when I was on the Hot Morning Mess to not do double time. He goes, why do you do that? Why do you do the double time? I said, because people don't catch it the first time. He goes, okay, don't do that in the next newscast. I'm like, all right, fine. And I'm like, it's 8:06, blah, 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 blah. And he comes back, he goes, did you tell what time it was? I said, you missed it. 8:06, 6 after 8. I loved when I would hear a DJ do an awesome one. Napua, thank you, Napua. See, I appreciate that.
I know.
I may have told that story on here. I prefer LPs or the current digital files? Jennifer Scott. No. How's that? Ask us the question. That's a good question. I have all that right there. You see behind me. If you're watching this, obviously, if you're listening to it, then you can't see it. But that right there is a Sony stereo from 1970. I want to say 1 or 2.
Nice.
Or 2 or 3.
Belt-driven?
Right? I have no idea. That stereo was my best friend. Okay. I listened to all of my albums on that. And I still have a bunch of vinyl. I have all my vinyl LPs. I never got rid of them. I replaced a bunch of them with CDs. Correct. And now I'm listening on Spotify. I'm listening to I was just listening, which we're going to get into a little bit later, is what albums did you revisit? Or do you revisit, maybe your favorite albums? So that is a tough question.
I have thoughts on this.
I like the tactile when you're working.
Yeah.
I like the tactile actually picking up a record, putting it back in the jack and then putting it back. And Buddy, by the way, was the one who taught me, because I was pulling, 6 hours of LP. I was on midnight to 6 a.m. 6 hours of LPs is like, it's a huge stack of albums. And then he taught me, and this actually keeps you awake when you're doing the overnight. There are no overnight jocks anymore, by the way. It's all automated. Nobody cares.
Sad.
But which is where you train your baby DJs. But now you can't do that anymore.
True.
And excuse me. So you would get up, you'd look at your sheet, your flow sheet, that you wrote everything down, and it was Phil Collins One More Night. So you turned around and you went to, was it C for Collins? Was it P for Petty? Yeah, it was C for Collins.
Yeah.
Not P for Phil. Yeah, Tom Petty. It was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It was P for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So C for Phil Collins. Pull the album or the LP, or they would give you the 12-inch single. You pulled that out, and then you pulled the one to the left of it halfway out.
So you knew where to put it back.
That's right. So you were constantly getting up. You were getting up and sitting down with every record. So 4:00 in the morning, what you and I were just talking about, in the middle of the night when you were pulling an overnight, when you were just flat out exhausted and your brain had no idea what was going on, I was still getting up and sitting down and getting up and sitting down, and then running over into the other studio to do the minute news update on WARK and AM 1490, the music of your life. Here's Artie Shaw and the Hub City forecast, partly cloudy, and That's what kept me awake. But I would sit there, and I didn't realize this because when I did overnights at DC 101 in Washington Rock Station, and everything was on CD then. About 4:00 in the morning, I would freeze, and I would take they had track lighting, and I'd call them French fries, and I would point all of them at me, to try to get some sort of residual heat off of the lights. Okay.
Yeah.
And it did not work. And I kept complaining to the engineer. I'm like, do you turn the heat off overnight? Are you trying to save money? He goes, no, it's a constant. And then finally somebody told me that it's your body. Your body lowers its temperature. Your body thinks you're supposed to be asleep.
Right.
So it lowers your temperature. And I would sit there and freeze because I worked regular hours during the week. And I would, when I did the overnight weekends. Okay. I didn't want to get too inside baseball with this, but I did. So my question I wanted to throw to you, and if you want to throw us a little comment, that would be fantastic. Is how did you start your career? Did you do it coming out of college? Did you do it out of high school and you went to, tech school and you're like, a friend of mine is an electrician and he's making way more money than anybody, than a lot of the college kids that I know, who are just starting. He's, and he started his career. Gosh, was he an apprentice? A lot of people in my family, like in construction and mechanics and
trades, can make some serious money, man.
Dude, a friend of mine was such a gearhead, Jeff. And he was my best friend in high school, and we joined the fraternity together, Pi Kappa Alpha, Ura Pi Kappa. And he got his degree in civil engineering or something, and he worked for an architect or urban planning for like a year, and he was like, I hate this. And he went to GM and went to Mr. Goodwrench school, became Mr. Goodwrench certified, and has never looked back. And he's been, the head of shops and dealerships and all that stuff. And he's just is the happiest he could possibly be. Yeah. So, because he was always a gearhead and he always wanted to work on cars. He taught me how to replace a master cylinder, and he taught me how to replace, a couple of things in the Nova that I had. I had a Nova. Oh God, it was so nice. So
is that a Scanova?
Oh no, it wasn't. It was just a Nova.
Just checking.
Just
Jennifer's like, I'm hating that I actually left a message.
Told him. Oh no. So how did you start your career? How did you start? What did you do? And are you in the field that you wanted to be in? Because I know, John, your journey was took a
it's weird
turn. Yeah.
Kind of weird. Well, I mean, I wanted to go into radio. I was playing radio at home for years, through probably junior high and high school. Like I would tape myself, talking up records, and then would either play them on the stereo or record them off the radio before I had that. So I started doing that. But then I knew I wanted to go into broadcasting because we had like radio and television class in high school.
Oh wow! Okay, cool. Yeah.
Which was really cool, and I did TV class there, and I did pretty well. And my parents went into the teacher to understand the career I was going into, and the teacher, to his credit, they asked, how is he going to do financially? Like, is he going to do very well? He's like, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be an uphill battle. But if he loves it, he can make a career out of it. My parents, who my dad is a CFO, chief financial officer, or was, to his credit, did not question my choice.
Okay.
Of wanting to go into broadcasting, which is good. Wow. So I went to one of, I think, about 5 or 6 schools in the country that had a commercial FM radio station, which was the University of Dayton. They owned WVUD 99.9. And my first year I went out there, I worked for the student radio station, 64 Rock, WDCR.
Ooh, nice.
64 and programmed it. And we had satin jackets and everything. And then I know, see, we really did. It was great. But I kind of had a talk show on there, which was cool. They did block programming. originally. And so I had a talk show. My name was Ian Michaels. We did Late Night with Ian Michaels. Could it have been any more radio, the name? I mean, seriously. I mean, so right?
I'm sorry.
I know, it's okay.
By the way,
I have the tapes,
I haven't known a single soul with the last name Michaels. That's always somebody's middle name. It's always their middle name.
It's true.
Anyway,
and radio guys, I mean, there's a million Michaels.
Yeah.
So anyway, by the time I did my first year,
Ian, was there a significance to
Ian Michaels? Yeah.
First what was the significance of the name Ian?
John. It's John in Gaelic.
Oh, okay, cool. Of course, I knew that.
Didn't you know that? Come on, Ron. I don't know. I like the name Ian, honestly, right. And it was just coincidental. All right. So,
by the way, John, you're Polish, not Irish. I should have been.
I'm a lot of things. If we're going to get right down to it, yeah. Like, I'm going to do a DNA test.
You're a mud. Yeah, I'm a mud.
I'm going to have a report back there. Anyway, did that. Worked at that radio station, then got my in to work at the FM station, which again was a commercial FM station making money in like June of 1986, which was before I was coming back for my sophomore year. So in between my freshman and sophomore year, I got a gig, I think doing weekends and overnights there, nothing live. I was working at, Delightful 100 WVUD, which was an MOR station, middle of the road. Lots of Neil Diamond, Barbra Streisand, Kenny Rogers, Bee Gees.
How deep is your love on Delightful 100?
Delightful 100. Yeah, but you know what? I was not allowed to talk. They had just switched formats, and
did you want that in a DJ?
All the vocals were on carts. So we would just, at the times where we weren't live, they would be, as Ron would say, tracked. But they didn't do any back selling. In other words, saying what the record was that was on.
Oh yeah, that was another radio term you just kind of threw out there.
Yeah. All right.
Back selling, billboarding. Yeah. Go ahead.
The one highlight was we got to record live weather. Here's the forecast from the National Weather Service.
National Weather Service. That's right.
Yeah. And then we would read the forecast. We'd put it on a cart. We would produce it in the production room. We would come downstairs and then we would put it in and play it at the appropriate time. We weren't even allowed to do live weather at that point. It had to be pre-recorded. So I just a real quick story, and then I'll let loose on this. One of the times I went upstairs, the studios was downstairs. The production studio was upstairs. This was a multi-story building. I went up to record my weather, and I'm up there doing stuff. And it was on a Sunday morning where we were playing Master Control, which was a show.
I remember that show. Yeah, I remember that.
Came on a vinyl disc, and it was
a record every week. Yeah.
The master is in control of your life. You're in control with the master.
Yeah,
it was
like a religious program. It was a Christian
hour. Yeah. And stations would do that on the weekends. They would get their public service programming in and stuff like that. So anyway, while that was running, I went up to record the forecast for the end of the show. And you would monitor what was on the air through the little production board. And I'm monitoring, and they're doing a thing where they're doing a like a recipe of something, just whatever. And they're cooking. And I'm recording my weather. I check back, and I hear the following on the air, going out live.
Yeah.
A dash of salt. A dash of salt. A dash of salt.
Oh no.
A dash of salt. A dash of salt. A dash of salt. And I look over at the phone lines, and back then we had like those blinky light phones.
Yeah.
All 10 lines were lit up. I boogied. I was running down, and I
meanwhile a dash of salt.
Up the needle,
salt, which is
it's like the worst thing.
It is and it's
picturing
an
a grandmother
eternity.
making a recipe at home, right? Following along. It's like, okay, a dash of salt. All right, another dash of salt. How much salt is in this? So, I did not answer a single one of those lines. I just let them all die, like all the 10 flashy light hotlines.
I
Oh
love
my God.
everything about that story.
That is legitimate. May God strike me down right here as I sit if that is not true. That is 100% true. No embellishment.
That is beautiful. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing, John.
Thank you.
And then I want to find out how you got into this, what you're doing now, because that was just kind of one of those serendipitous things. And then look what has come from that. Now,
yes.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit because we're running late. We'll probably do that in another show.
Okay.
And in another show, I'll tell you how I was the operator on duty with an FCC license, and I was signing those logs.
Yeah.
With the readings, with the antenna readings that you had to do your array on your AM and your FM, right?
Yeah.
And I took down 2 heritage Washington, D.C. radio stations. In one fell swoop, took them off the air.
Off the air?
Off for an extended period of time.
Oh, my God.
WWDC, AM and FM, in Washington, D.C., licensed to Washington, not a suburb, licensed to the nation's capital. I'm the guy who's flying the plane, and I took it down.
Right.
Both of them. For an extended period of time, but that's a story for another time.
Oh, I do want to hear that story. So bookmark that, people.
All right. So right now, though, because we're about 2 minutes late, it's time.
Running late
and
working.
Fire. What? Huh? What? What did you say?
Running late and feeling great.
Okay.
That's just a radio, isn't it?
I don't know that one. I don't know.
Running late and feeling great.
Squirrel. All right. It's time. You get a gray matter working, fire off the synapses, engage for the low form neural networks, utilize the cerebrum. As Pooh says, it's time to think. John Lennon. It's the question of the day. Here it is, playing for pride, not prize. Are you ready? Here's today's question of the day.
Yes.
Because we're going to be talking about albums in just a little bit. So I was just thinking about record albums.
Okay.
And we were talking about queuing them up. So in the 10 best-selling albums of all time, only one artist is in the top 10 twice. What artist is it? You don't know, John? You have no idea.
I guessed already. So but
that's right, you did, and you were.
I don't want to tell people what I guessed. I didn't think it was.
No, you can't. No, you can't. Well, they were in the top 10 though.
Yeah,
the artists that you said. Again, here's the question: in the 10 best-selling albums of all time, think about it. 10 best-selling albums of all time. You know them because they're the best-selling of all time. Chances are you own 1 or 2 or more. All right, only one artist is in the top 10 twice.
Yeah, I have another idea, and somebody
just
wait. Oh, I need to do this. Where is it? Oh, thank you.
Oh, should I give a clue?
No, only if people don't get it.
Are you sure? All right.
I mean, you could. It's your show.
I mean, what I just did was kind of ethereal. I mean, it was kind of out there. I could probably give a clue that would kill it.
Oh, really?
I have 2 of them. 2 clues that would bring
you didn't just give a clue, did you?
No, I did not.
Killing it?
No.
Okay. All right.
Do we have any answers?
All right, we do have answers. Okay, here's our first one from Jennifer.
Jennifer T. Taylor Swift. Not in the top 10, Jennifer.
Okay, and I'm not putting her second one on there because you get one guess. You do not get two guesses.
Yes,
Jennifer.
She does.
No,
you know,
no. I'll come back to her after we go through everybody.
Oh, okay. All right, I got you.
There's a pecking order here, Ron.
Yeah, we're pecking all right.
All right, here we go. How about the Beatles?
How about the Beatles? Are the Beatles in there at all with their top selling album of all time? Let's take a look. Where's my list? Here's my, I should probably move my list over there. Okay. Beatles, not in the top 10.
Okay. That's hard
not.
to believe. Okay. The next one I guessed.
Michael Jackson is number 1 with Thriller, released in 1982. Over 40 minutes, 51.2 million copies, certified copies sold. And that's it. He's not in there again. So no, that is incorrect, Sarah, with an H.
It's crazy. Okay. Napua's guessing here.
Floyd. Pink Floyd is in there.
One of mine, too.
Fourth. Pink Floyd is in fourth with Dark Side of the Moon. 24.8 million certified copies.
Yep.
But they're claiming 45 million. No, that's it. That's the only entry in.
Okay. Wait, hold on. Jim says.
And boom, there it is.
There it is.
Eagles. And also, Jim, you get double points because you didn't say the Eagles. They're not the Eagles. They've never been the Eagles. Look at every Eagles album. And you know where I learned that? Because for years, I'm on the air. It's
the Eagles.
I'm a disc jockey. Yeah, it's the Eagles. Take it easy. Easy 106 point. No.
It's Eagles.
It's Eagles. And I learned that by listening to American Top 40 with Casey Kasem. And he was, I was listening. Top 40. And Greatest Wife Ever and I were listening to a rebroadcast on 70s on 7.
Right.
And they went into Best of My Love.
And,
which was number 1 that week, and you just hear, and here they are, Eagles with Best of My Love. I went, that's right. And you look at every album, and there is no definite article. So Jim, boom.
By the way,
what?
If you're in Philadelphia, it's the Eagles or Eagles. And it's the same with, by the way, the Hooters. It's not the Hooters. It's just Hooters.
Hooters. Yeah. See, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Although when I was at Sirius XM, if you talked about the Beatles channel, it was the Beatles channel.
The definitive, like the Ohio State.
Correct. Okay, so the albums are Michael Jackson, Thriller, AC/DC, Back in Black, number 2.
Yeah. Back in Black.
Number 3, Whitney Houston and various artists, The Bodyguard. Number 3, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon is at number 4. Eagles, their greatest hits, 1971 to 1975, is the number 5 biggest selling album or best selling album of all time. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell, is number 6. Eagles, Hotel California is number 7. Eagles are in there twice. There you go. Then you have Shania Twain, Come On Over. Shania Twain, wow.
I know. 90s. Where'd you go?
Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, and then Bee Gees and various artists with
Saturday Night
Fever, correct.
Yeah.
40 million copies too, or more. I'm trying to think if I owned every one of those. I owned Thriller, Back in Black. I did not own The Bodyguard.
Nope.
I owned Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
Greatest Hits. Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell did not. Out of Hell did not own that. Hotel California, I did. Shania Twain, no. Rumors, yes. Saturday Night Fever, yes. So I had most of them. But
can I lay down a secret now that we've said that? Hit me. I've never owned any Eagles albums.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. Wife loves them, by the way. And
when I was doing
a lot of their songs, but
when I was collecting Kiss records, and I was a big Kiss fan, and I started with Kiss Alive, and then you had to go back and own Kiss, their debut, and then Hotter Than Hell, and then Dressed to Kill, and then Kiss Alive. And then there were 3 other albums that came after that, which was Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, and Love Gun, and then Alive 2. And then there was the greatest hits called I'm not giving the whole discography, but I had to go and purchase all of these albums myself. First, my mom would buy them, and dad. But while I was doing that, my brother Joe was buying Eagles records. And so he had the whole Eagles discography. So This Catholic boy during Lent decided he was going to give up something, sacrifice something. So I decided I was going to give up listening to my Kiss records because I listened to them every day. And I was going to give that up because giving your life to save the world and me not listening to Kiss records it was the same thing in my head.
For pretty much. I mean,
yeah, at
right,
15, at 14, 15.
Right. Okay.
So I decided to start listening to all of Joe's Eagles records.
Oh.
So now I had them memorized. So now I know. And who was it? Was there somebody Randy Meisner just passed. And Randy Meisner was the original bass player in Eagles. And he sang a bunch of songs and a bunch of albums, but the big single was Take It to the Limit. That's Randy Meisner.
Oh, okay.
You think it might be it's either Glenn Frey or Don Henley who handled those the lion's share of the vocals. Bernie Ledden sang on a couple of songs, but no, it was Randy Meisner on Take It to the Limit. And song. Yeah, he's got a bunch of songs on what was it? Duel and Dalton. What's the album called? Desperado. He has a song called Certain Kind of Fool. Randy Meisner does. I mean, it's pretty amazing stuff. And so anyway, I was thinking about Eagles and their track record and all of their albums and their harmonies. There's a YouTube video that I go back to every now and then of them. They had disbanded. They came back in the 90s with Hell Freezes Over, and they did all these tours, and they decided, you know what, we're just going to embrace the country thing and do a country album. And so they resurrected one of their songs from back in the 70s off their first, that was never on any album, called How Long. And they performed it at the American Country Music Awards or something like that. And that performance is on YouTube. It's the place just goes nuts because it's Eagle and their harmonies are, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. I've tried to get bands that I'm in to cover that because because if you nail those harmonies, you've nailed the song. It's fantastic, even though it's got an incredible guitar. Anyway,
yes,
I digress.
You can spend all your time making money.
Spend all your money making time.
Make time. Is that how it goes?
Spend all your love. Spend all your love making time. If it all fell to pieces tomorrow, would you still be mine?
Yeah. Good line.
Oh, I was just thinking about this because the other day, one of my favorite albums in my top 5, I think, is Pink Floyd, The Wall. And I know every nuance, every single second of that album. And I just recently re-listened to it. So and good. I realized that I have a set of LPs that I go back to and listen to fairly regularly, at least 4 times a year. Some of them are like once a month. That I will, and they would be, and I just did this recently. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band from the Beatles.
Not a bad
Abbey
one.
Road from the Beatles, and when Jenny gets in the car, I'm like, what do you want? You want to do that? You want to do Sgt. Pepper's, Abbey Road, or do you want to do the White Album? Sometimes she picks the White Album because she had the White Album.
Okay.
And, or Abbey Road. But, but you got to listen from beginning to end. From beginning to end. You don't skip around the tracks. You have to listen from the beginning of the album to the end of the album.
The way the artist intended it.
That was the great thing about The Wall, is that it is I don't want to say it's a rock opera, but it is a story.
Right.
And one song is tied into the next, and you bounce around through timelines, and I know all the sound effects and all the little things and hidden messages on the album and all of that stuff. But 3/4 of the album builds up to a song, and there are a bunch of radio songs you recognize. There's Another Brick in the Wall, part 2, which was all the kids singing We Don't Need No Education. And then there's but Another Brick in the Wall is a motif that runs through the entire album.
Right.
With different things that affect the fictional character Pink Floyd that goes into building the wall around him so he doesn't get hurt anymore. His father is killed in World War II. He has an overbearing mother. He's got an abusive school teacher, and all of that. How can you have your pudding if you don't eat your meat? He's screaming at him at the end, and he has a Scottish accent. You stand still, laddie. Anyway, I'm getting into the story. I didn't really want to get into the story, but I listened to that because I love that album. And then, if I really want to just pound it hard, I'm going to say AC/DC. Now, I know Greatest Wave Ever would say Back in Black. And I'm sorry. I think I might
for
have
AC/DC, the favorite.
You mean? Yeah. And that's Brian Johnson on vocals. I might have to go with either Highway to Hell or Let There Be Rock. Let There Be Rock has got, and they didn't have
songs off of that.
Well, Let There Be Rock is one of them. Bad Boy Boogie, Problem Child. Yes. See, you're looking at me like, see, these are all AC/DC, like deep
cuts.
There's a song, Problem Child from AC/DC. I probably want played if there's going to be a memorial service for me.
Oh, how weird. Okay.
No, it's not weird. No, because they're going to be handpicked party tunes because it's going to be a party.
You're pre-gaming.
Yeah.
For your funeral.
And it's but there's a part in that song, there's there's a part in Brown Sugar from the Rolling Stones where they come out of the bridge and then they go into a lead break or whatever, and then they come back into the main phrase. And and they do it in Rolling Stones with a cowbell, and they do it in AC/DC Problem Child, where they come back with these shakers, and it's just I get this. It's so good. It's so stinking good.
Go listen to that because
I can't describe it. I cannot describe it. So anyway, Sgt. Pepper's Abbey Road, AC/DC. Let's go with Let There Be Rock. Jason Faulkner, which I've talked about ad nauseum. There's his record right there, which is Jason Faulkner Presents Author Unknown. He was in Jellyfish and blah, 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 blah. I've talked about him a lot. And Pink Floyd The Wall. Those would be mine. What about you, John? Albums that you revisit?
Oh, wow. I did not know this was coming. Was this on the show list? I guess it was. Look at that.
And it was on last week's list because I said we were going to talk about it.
I know.
Thanks for paying attention. John Uglinski, everybody.
I know. Hi. How are you?
Well, he's got Hurricane.
Aha's Hunting High and Low. Or actually, that's the one. Yeah. Or actually, even more so, Aha's Scoundrel Days. That is one that I will. And again, pretty much nothing that was a major hit, but listen to it. One of the greatest albums of all time. Toy Matinees, the Ballad of Jenny Ledge, and their Toy Matinee debut album. I know, like what? Again, that's your Jason Faulkner.
Yeah,
it's one of these that I keep coming back.
You're deep, brother.
Level 42. Level 42's greatest hits.
You've always been a fan of Level 42. Though.
I do. I just
as long as I've known you. Yeah.
Yeah. I pretty much. I think this is tough. We really should do a Desert Island CD show.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know what? I mean, bands I've still been fans of over the years. Pretty much Chicago's greatest hits would be fantastic. Put it in the car, play it, but include the whole catalog from the 70s all the way through now. And Peter
Cedera was a badass bass player, by the way.
He was. That band was
great. He had a
band was amazing.
And he picked it. Yeah.
But then I met the band in the late 80s and early 90s too, and they were still cool as heck then. And I don't know.
Was that the John Elefante days?
No, that's Kansas.
Oh, sorry. My mistake.
but which are good too. You know, Kansas greatest hits, not bad. But just throw Styx. Pretty much any one of Styx's Grand Illusion or Pieces of Eight or something, you know.
Oh, you know what? Crack the Sky, I'd have to say. Their first album.
See,
Crack the Sky. That's and I think I've talked about them too. It's a
thank you, Jennifer.
There you go. Jennifer Scott. I love Chicago's greatest hits.
Yes.
That was kind of my theme song even though it's a breakup song. Sorry. But Feeling Stronger Every Day was kind of my Come Back After My Heart thing.
Yeah.
So it was, that was always in my head. Stephanie says, revisited album was the question, other than more obvious choices, Counting Crows, August, and Everything After. Nice. That's a good choice. It's interesting when there is an album that comes and I'm going to use a word here, and sometimes I might be using it correctly, I might not.
Okay.
But it touches on the zeitgeist of the time, and you just can't avoid it. Ed Sheeran recently has had albums like that. Taylor Swift, who it came up earlier, has albums for another generation that they mark periods of time, major periods of time in their life by those albums. Like I would do with Billy Joel albums.
Right.
People are doing with Taylor Swift albums. She's a masterful artist who, right now can do no wrong. James said, got Kansas Left Overture for one song.
I mean, holy crap. What a great album. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
How long?
You know what's funny? And you hear a band like Kansas. By the way, we want a trivia question, trivia contest because of Kansas, because there was it was the classic rock albums was the subject, and who has John Brown, abolitionist, on the cover.
Oh, right. Exactly.
Kansas.
Yeah. Okay.
Painting.
Here we go. Growing up in Norway with Aha. Yes, a lot of their better stuff didn't make it to the U.S. Absolutely had a complete career after Hunting High and Low, but a lot of it didn't. Hold on. Oh, we've got some good ones coming in here.
Oh, Tragic Kingdom from Jennifer Scott, from No Doubt. The thing about that was that they thought they were in people thought they were in like an overnight success. And they weren't. They'd been together for quite a while.
Years.
They had they did a little bit of all right, Jim, with the Spandau Ballet. Spandau Ballet is another great artist.
Yeah.
That, there's so much wonderful music that's out there that I'm just not getting exposed to. Stephanie says she just posted that she loves Kansas. And but I go back and revisit these albums and listen to them in their entirety. What I was going to say about the Pink Floyd The Wall album is that the whole thing, all Hardcastle, 19.
No, 19.
Thanks,
19.
James.
No. Thanks, James. Yeah. That's going to be stuck in my head.
There you go. Oh, the film with Glass Tiger. It would be, I don't know. All right. So what do you think, Napoleon? Do you think they'd be anywhere without the Bryan Adams song?
Which one was that? Is that Don't Forget Me When I'm Gone?
Well, yeah.
Really? That was a Bryan Adams song? Oh my gosh, that totally sounds like. Now that I didn't know that.
Well, he sings on it. He sings at the My Heart Will Break. He sings at the three-quarters of the way through.
Yeah.
All Bryan Adams fans go, "Oh, Bryan Adams!" Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another guy who had a body of work that could not
be Adams.
Bryan Adams. Yeah, that could not do. He could do no wrong in the 80s. I mean, when Reckless came out, that's when we were just talking about me starting in radio. Reckless was the LP. That was 1984, man. Summer of '69, but no, what was the Run to You?
Right. That's a great. Oh gosh. And then and then
I like this stuff. I like
10 albums.
I like Cuts Like a Knife. Well, also off that album was the one with Tina Turner. What's it called? What was it called? It's Only Love. It's only love. That's all. Oh, and that song, see, this is me starting in radio. That album also had Kids Want to Rock. I was at a rock station. So we were literally playing, and we were an album rock. So it wasn't a single, but we were playing every song off that album. And we were playing every song off of Phil Collins' No Jacket Required. Music director was just on point with the stuff that he was picking for this radio station. And there was a song called Kids Want to Rock, which was and you had to make sure that you slip cued into the next song, because right after Kids Want to Rock, it went right into another song, and you had to turn it down real quick and get your next song rolling. So you had to slip cue into it. There you go. That's my Everywhere You Go, Kids Want to Rock. That was a great album. Bryan Adams.
Yes.
Okay, we getting any more? Do we have any more?
No, that I think that we've.
Well, continue to comment. Continue your discussion on
absolutely.
the Facebook page, and let us know about albums that you revisit and re-listen to. Do you actively, like you're in the car and you call something up on your to listen to these albums,
or you have your CDs in your car?
All right, you know
Like
what
I still do.
Wow, really?
I do.
I do have a CD player in my car.
Yeah,
I do have a CD player in my car. I just don't have
Yeah.
I don't have any CDs. Oh, that's a good point. Didn't even think about that. And we have
Bring
one
them
in
along.
We should totally do that. I know. Why not?
It's there.
Yesterday, I called up one from when I was a kid, and I loved this guy. And I bought his greatest hits. And it was Jerry Reed. Now, there's another good one, Jim. Nick Lowe, Cruel to Be Kind.
That's a good one.
I don't know that album, but I know that song. And I love the band that he was in, Rockpile, which is a great name for a band, by the way. Rockpile with Dave Edmunds. Dave Edmunds was doing the rockabilly thing, and then he had one hit, I Hear You Knocking. He does my favorite version of Run, Rudolph, Run at Christmas time.
Dave Edmunds. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll get into those in a couple of months. But what?
Or next show. You never know when we're going to throw in some Christmas stuff. Or pumpkin spice for that matter.
Well, I did.
Did you see what I just did there?
Thank you. I totally skipped that part. I can't believe I skipped that. I did that. I posted. So the picture that you saw, yellow. There's
that album is so good. Really just off the corner of my waking mind. There lies.
So I posted. I can't believe I skipped. Why did I skip past that? How did we get into? I don't know. We ran out of time.
I don't know.
Talking a lot about my radio career, which is all very self-serving and selfish, and I apologize.
That's all right.
But I had posted yesterday on my Facebook page and on my personal Facebook page. That's right. And I called this up because I wanted to read you some of the comments. I have never had a posting. This is on my personal Facebook page. I have never had a posting that elicited
divisive,
such a visceral response.
Bring up pumpkin spice. It'll do that.
Oh my gosh. It was crazy. Hang on. Let me pull this over. Okay. So
are you bringing up the responses to
yes. It was so great. So I did. So I posted a picture of pumpkin spice Cheerios and just said it has begun. And I had a bowl yesterday, and it was just fantastic. It was delicious. I loved every bit of it. And usually I give the cereal milk to the cats, but I looked it up, and you can't get
cinnamon.
You can't get cloves.
Oh, cloves? Okay.
Cloves ain't good for kitty liver. So anyway, let me just read.
It might be good for the kitty litter, but not.
Nah, all right. So I posted it, and then the first response I get is from Michelle, who said, "Never seen these before. No thanks."
Okay. Yeah, just think it gets ugly.
And then I said, I just responded, more for me.
Yeah.
And then another friend of mine, Jackie, said, "Yikes, might taste good, but horrible for you." So now she's coming in from the health
side. Oh, come on, man.
To which I said, "Isn't that pretty much with everything that tastes good? I mean, come on, fried chicken, please."
But it's not sugary, is it? It's just got the flavor, right? I mean, Cheerios aren't sugary, are they?
Well, no,
Maybe
there's sugar. There's sugar in it. Yeah, it's definitely
right. But I mean, it's not like
when I was looking at the calories, I was paying attention and I was doing the measuring. It's one cup is one serving. Yeah. 1 cup is one serving.
Good for you. You're taking
and then of course I took your advice. And then the quarter of, and I'm doing skim milk without lactose.
Good.
And so then Jackie came back with not really everything that tastes good is bad for you. And she goes, not really. Steak and butter and eggs are amazing and are nutrient dense. So I got into a nutrition discussion about which is fine.
Off of the pumpkin spice.
Fine. Yeah. Rick posts the vomiting emoji. Okay.
Why?
I hit one, Diane,
man.
who said, yes, happy Halloween. Tyler, my neighbor, said, I haven't bought any of this, but it looks pretty good. LOL. And then he posts the pumpkin spice spam, which
that doesn't exist.
I think
that's one of those that just.
And then the pumpkin spice, and then he says, and you can wipe up after eating with this, and it's the Charmin pumpkin spice, which is
okay. See, again,
that's a joke. Then another friend of mine, Ron, posts, what is it, Kip, whatever his name is, Kit from Game of Thrones, just threw up in my mouth a little bit. So it's GIF of him, I'm like,
come
really,
on, man.
And then I just came back with like, then don't eat it. Then don't eat it.
Right.
It's just more for me.
Why is it so triggering? What is it about?
I don't know.
Pumpkin spice.
Why do you have to stop what you're doing instead of scrolling past going, yeah, that's not for me? You have to stop and weigh in on whether you love it or you hate it.
I don't understand either. I don't get it.
Look, and I love everybody, and I'm glad I'm getting some sort of response. But I would have never predicted it would have been from my posting a picture of pumpkin spice Cheerios. Then another guy, Pat, said that actually looks really good with some vanilla oat milk. See, okay, all right, now I'm on with the program. Then another guy, JD, with the vomit emoji. I get a sorry, but not a fan of pumpkin spice anything. Okay.
Yeah.
And another guy, Sai, says just no.
No.
By the way, Bruce, that's the third vomit emoji that somebody has posted. And then I get Eric, who gives me the GIF of Borat shaking his head.
Very nice.
Mary Jane says, that's just wrong. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Why do people hate pumpkin? Why the pumpkin hate? I just don't get it.
I don't know.
And there are some who are like too early. Like, so maybe because it's pushing fall and all that kind of stuff and cold weather. But I don't know. That I almost might understand, but I don't understand why people hate pumpkin spice.
And the people who consume it.
Yeah, unlike me. Pumpkin spice. Pumpkin everything. Pumpkin beer.
Daughter the Elder. Right. Yes, that's right. You sent me a picture of the Pum King. That's very good beer.
Yeah, by the way, have some of that if you get a
My
chance.
favorite fall beer is, and it's hard to find too. You have to like special order it or find, and they may be sold out by now because all the pumpkin stuff comes out in August, believe it or not.
It does.
Is Fordham's Harvest Spice Ale. So good. So I ordered in, and Jennifer actually gave me, my wife, greatest wife ever, gave me a case for my birthday. Here you go.
Okay.
Because it was hard to find.
It's a yearly thing that they come out with this?
Yeah.
At a certain time of year? Okay.
Right.
Where is that brewing company out of?
Fordham's.
Is it like as in New York, Fordham?
No, as in Virginia. They were bought by Old Dominion. They were their own, and then I think they were bought by Old Dominion. So Fordham's Harvest Spiced Ale. I highly recommend it. It used to be on tap at one of our local places. That's where I first had it. I'm like, I need a fall beer, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. But I needed to stop drinking the beer. The carbs.
You don't need to stop, just moderate
this, right?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, easy, relax. You are not on my scale, literally. All right, I think that's it. Next week, okay. So again, programming note: we will be on Wednesday, not Tuesday, because I'm going to be away this weekend for Labor Day. My special guest is going to be a daughter, the elder, who is going to give us her calendar of the year. The yearly calendar, we're going to be, according to her, in fall. And she's already decorated for fall, by the way. That's all done. Greatest wife ever is like, yeah, we're going to put all the stuff up like right after. And right after Labor Day, it's going to be full-blown fall. But there are 4 or 3 different versions for for fall that Jordan will get into. There are, trust me on this. Okay. And it all makes sense when you hear her talk about it. But she'll be the guest. And then I'm working on a couple of surprises. I might have a surprise. I'm working on it.
We're waiting.
A surprise guest who will be a lot of fun. Well, Johnny, you and I might have to tape it early and then and play it back. But we'll see. But anyway, thank you so much for listening this week. I really appreciate it. I hope you had some fun. I definitely had some fun. If you want to put it up on in our comment section, how did you start your career? Because I still want to get in on that discussion, and we can always go back and revisit that. And you can also weigh in on the albums that you listen to maybe once a year or whatever that you revisit. And then, if you want to give me a pumpkin spice yay or nay, a thumbs up or a thumbs down, you can do that too. Don't forget to tell your friends about this podcast. We really, really do appreciate it. And all my thanks and to John Cantor-Yaglinski, who is going to be dealing with the hurricane soon. And we hope that's minimal, not just for you, but for all the people impacted. We have friends in the Tampa area. Turn your radio down. Listen to the phone. Oh, there you go. It's the wall.
I thought it was appropriate, unlike 80s.
Yeah, right? I know every lyric to that song. So, okay. So I'm taking forever. They called it the Maryland Goodbye. It's taking me forever to sign off. So listen, please take care of yourselves and each other. Please be safe. For John Yaglinski, I'm Ron Ross. Love you, mean it. Bicycle.
Bye now.